We hear so much about AI replacing jobs, right? But what if its biggest, most powerful use isn't about replacement at all? What if it's actually about partnership? That's what we're digging into today. This idea of how AI can become a kind of quiet, powerful partner for leaders, helping them handle the unbelievable pressures of the modern workplace. So let's just start with a really basic question. If you strip away all the meetings, the crazy inbox, the reports, what is a leader's real job today? At its core, it sounds like a simple question, but man, the answer has gotten so much more complex and a whole lot more demanding than it ever used to be. And that complexity, well, it brings us right to what you could call the modern leadership dilemma. It's this feeling of always navigating change, of dealing with total ambiguity where there's no clear answer, and just this relentless pressure coming at you from every direction. If that sounds familiar, it's because it's pretty much the new normal for anyone in charge of, well, anything. Okay, so let's break that pressure down, because this is where it gets real. First off, you almost never have all the info you need. You're basically making these huge calls in a fog with maybe, 70% of the picture? Second, everyone wants something different, and those wants are usually in direct conflict. Like, finance wants you to cut the budget, but your team needs to hire people to hit a deadline, so what do you do? Third, while all this is swirling, your team is looking right at you, waiting for you to point the way forward. They need you to be the calm in the storm. And last, but honestly, this might be the biggest one, the emotional load. It's the invisible job of managing your own stress while projecting total confidence for your team. It is absolutely constant and it is draining. This leads us to a moment, a feeling, really, that I think every single person in a leadership role is going to recognize immediately. It's that moment when it feels like everything is hitting the fan all at once, and the weight of it all is just immense. Let's just walk through what that feels like. It always starts like this, right? It's never just one fire. It's always three or four. A huge bug just crashed a key feature. Your best engineer just gave their 2 weeks notice. And oh yeah, your biggest competitor just announced a massive new round of funding. And all of this happens before you've even finished your first coffee. So with all that coming at you, the one thing you need more than anything is the one thing you absolutely do not have: time. Just space. The space to step back and actually think, to consider the ripple effects, to ask yourself, okay, if we patch the bug this way, what does it do to our timeline for the next quarter? If we make a counteroffer to our engineer, what message does that send to the rest of the team? That deep, reflective thinking, it feels like a total luxury you just can't afford. And yet, everyone is looking at you, expecting a fast, confident answer. Right now. Your team, your boss, your stakeholders, the pressure is on to just have the answer, no hesitation allowed. You're pushed to be reactive, even when you know that what's really needed is to be thoughtful. And this is the bottom line. In that compressed, high-pressure moment, a snap judgment, a bad call, it can have massive consequences. A rushed technical fix creates way more problems later. A panicked counteroffer can damage your team's culture. A reactive move against a competitor sends your people on a wild goose chase. The cost of getting it wrong is just incredibly high. But what if you could change that whole dynamic? What if in those make or break moments, you weren't completely on your own? What if you had a partner whose only job was to help you sort through the chaos so you could do your best thinking? And this is where we have to reframe how we think about AI. Not as something that's going to take over, not as an automated boss, but as a silent thinking partner. A tool that works in the background to support you in your most difficult, most uniquely human work, using your judgment. So let's get really specific about what that actually looks like. First, just organizing information. Instead of you spending hours trying to make sense of a fire hose of data from a dozen dashboards, an AI can synthesize it all and say, hey, here are the 3 critical trends you really need to see. Second, exploring scenarios. Let's say you're thinking about changing your pricing. An AI can model the most likely outcomes on your revenue, on customer loyalty, on your market share. It lets you play out the whole thing without any real-world risk. Third, and this is a big one, preparing for those tough conversations. Imagine you have a difficult performance review coming up. An AI can pull together all the objective data, summarize past feedback, and even suggest some talking points. It helps you walk into that room more prepared and objective. And what does all of this do? It reduces your cognitive overload. It frees up your brain power for the stuff that really matters. Okay, let's pause here, because this part right here is probably the most important point in this whole explainer. We have to be crystal clear about where the lines are drawn. For everything AI can do to help, there is a core human element that it cannot and frankly should not ever ever replace. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. Look at this. The AI can organize the information, but you, the leader, you own the accountability for the decision. You're the one who has to stand by it. The AI can explore all the possible scenarios, but it's on you to apply empathy. A model might tell you that a 10% layoff will boost profits, but it has zero understanding of the human cost, the families affected. And yeah, while AI can reduce your cognitive load, it can never, ever replace your ethical judgment, your intuition, that gut feeling you've developed over years that tells you when the data is missing the bigger story. That is irreplaceable. This table really pulls it all together. It's about balance. When it comes to information, AI informs, the leader decides. For accountability, AI provides the data, but accountability stays human, period. With emotion, AI can give you context, but your emotional intelligence has to be front and center. And this last one is so powerful. When it comes to pace, the AI's preparation lets the leader replace that gut reaction with a sense of considered calm. That's a game changer. So what's the big payoff here? What happens when this partnership works? Well, it's not just about making a leader's job a little easier. The real magic is the ripple effect that a calmer, clearer, more thoughtful leader has on their entire team. Let's look at what that creates. What it does is create this amazing virtuous cycle. It all starts with the leader, who's now supported by AI, making better, more thoughtful decisions. And because those decisions are well thought out, their communication becomes steadier, more consistent, no more whiplash from sudden strategy changes. That stability, in turn, creates psychological safety. That's where your team feels safe enough to speak up, to admit they made a mistake, to take a creative risk without being afraid they'll get blamed. And when a team feels that safe, trust in their leader and in each other just grows. It all starts by giving the leader the support they need to be at their best. I love this quote because it's the perfect bridge to our final idea here. See, everything we've talked about so far has been about how AI supports judgment and decision-making. That's the part that sets direction. But what about the other half? What about the part that fuels real breakthrough progress? And that really just leaves us with this one big question to think about. If you could hand off some of that immense mental weight of judgment to an AI partner, if you could free your mind from the constant pressure of just keeping things from going off the rails, what could you do with that freed up brain power? Now that you have a partner for judgment, are you ready to turn your full attention to collaborating on creativity? Because that is where the next real revolution begins.